come with us on a motorcycle trip through Negros Island, Guimaras, and Panay Island. We are traveling, my wife and myself, on our motorbikes, her on a Yamaha scooter and me on a OC motorbike. Our first day trip goes to the farm where my wife's family grows sugarcane. First stop at La Nebbia, on top of the mountain, and as the name says, it means fog. It is foggy, but we have a good breakfast there. And then we arrive on the farm quite early, and we have time to walk through the farm to visit the fields. Here is a sugarcane truck because the harvest is in full speed. Some of the houses where the people live and the roads where the trucks have to go through. It is not possible to harvest when it's raining because the roads are too bad. But the place is beautiful, the nature is amazing. Yeah. This is a shed where the workers spent some time. Our farm dog, which we raised from a puppy, and now waits for us when we come to the farm, and a simple kitchen in a simple house. Most of her family live in those kind of houses. Very simple, but it's all they need. There's no electricity on the farm, there's no running water. It's really a simple life, but very satisfactory. And we finished this day with the chicken who run freely. These are really free-range chicken. They run freely around the house. And when you need something to eat, it's quite a thing to catch them. Second day, we continue north to Bacolod and then on the ferry to Iloilo. That's very interesting. And the third day, we are going to Guimaras Island. Guimaras is a small island between Negros and Panay Island. They're planning to make a bridge to this island, but for the moment you have to take the ferry from Iloilo. There's no ferry directly from Bacolod except a passenger ferry where we can't put our motorbikes. First, we visit the famous Oro Verde mango farm. Guimaras is famous. The mangoes of Guimaras are the most famous in the whole country. And during the harvest, it's very busy. But now we are outside of the harvest time and we just visit the island. You see the windmills. There are lots of windmills. They produce most of the electricity. We stop for a snack and then we visit the windmills. There is a place where you can see all the windmills. And of course, there are lots of stands selling the pasalubong, the local souvenirs. There is also a bougainvillea farm where they raise bougainvilleas. Very, very nice place and friendly staff. It's absolutely beautiful. My wife would like to buy some, but we can't carry them on the motorbikes. And lunch, directly on the sea, a seafood meal, and we see the fishermen outside catching the food. They probably caught the food that we're eating the same morning. And after a nice day on Guimaras Island, we are taking the ferry back to Iloilo, where we will spend the night in a simple hotel. Next day, we spend it visiting Iloilo. I'm especially interested in the number of museums that show the history and the economy of the island. They have really nice museums. They're all free entrance, and it's worth spending some time visiting those museums. Lots of old artifacts. An old weaving loom. This loom is in the museum, but I have seen such looms at work in the south of Mindanao. This museum is in a traditional old house. It's the economic museum showing the economic development of the island. Of course, the Tanduay distillery is famous. Tanduay is apparently the best rum in the world. I can't say because I don't drink it. And an old plug. But this bluff, the same bluff, we saw it on the farm and it's still being used with the water buffalo. Also an old weaving loom. And I have seen this weaving loom in activity. You see here an old extract from my visit in 2015, where the women still use this and sell their products. This is about abaca fiber. Abaca was a very important product here, some tools, how to transform it. It was mainly used to make ropes. In the Maritime Museum, there is a very nice sleeping security guard. The museum is nice, not many things to see, many pictures, but some old ships or models of old ships. And lunch in a very nice noodle shop where you can choose everything that you want in your noodles. In the afternoon, we visit one of the remaining traditional houses. The place is very nice. They charge you 200 peso entrance fee for a visit of the place and a cup of chocolate. Unfortunately, the visit is very hurried. You don't see much. And then you can enjoy the hot chocolate, which is really delicious. One of the big churches of Iloilo City, beautiful old church. And the church tower, which is on the other side of the road, quite special. Please don't forget to like and subscribe our videos. Next day, we continue from Iloilo north across the island to Rojas. There's not much to say on the road. It's a nice 4-lane road, but we visit this Capiz Ecology Park. It was created at the occasion of kind of Asian meeting of old tradition. And it showcases houses built in the different styles of the country. I always like to see this kind of places. We arrive in Rojas, we have lunch on the beach. They have a beautiful beach, deserted, nobody there. The beach is a little outside of the city, maybe that's the reason, and there are lots of restaurants. And we eat in this restaurant, which belongs to a Canadian gentleman, and we sleep in this container hotel, one of the best hotels I met on my trips. And we have dinner on the river. The river is the center of the town. Very nice dinner, and you see the staff is happy to be on my videos. Next day back to Iloilo, we leave this nice hotel. After 2 nights, most of the road is the typical 4-lane road. that you have now in most main roads in the Philippines. The only problem is suddenly one of the lanes disappears without any signs. During the day, this is not too bad, but driving in the night, you have to be very careful. But then we take a road across the mountain that is more interesting to drive, sometimes a little difficult, especially for my wife on the scooter that has a low ground clearance and small wheels. But the scenery is beautiful, the road is nice to drive, especially the parts that are cemented. And we finish in a motorcycle workshop because my chain fell out, so I have to stop here to have to tighten the chain. They're very helpful, surprised. They probably have never seen a foreigner. And we continue on our road to the ferry that will bring us back to Iloilo. On the side of the road, people dry corn and rice. It's a kind of hazard when you're driving, especially if it's around a corner. It's illegal, but people do it. They do what they do to survive with the little things they cultivate. Here now, the approach to the ferry. Between all those fish ponds that they have around Iloilo, especially in the north. And we arrive at the ferry port. It's complicated. Here we have to buy a ticket for the entrance to the ferry. And then the very nice security guard tells us that we have to return outside of the port to check with the Coast Guard. After this, we try to buy a ticket, which is difficult because they tell us the boat is full. We have to wait for 2 hours. Our wife is trying to negotiate. And suddenly they tell us, go hurry, there are a few spots left for motorbike. And we go towards the ferry. And finally found a spot for the crossing, which takes about 2 hours. And here we are in Bacolod, a modern city with big roads. The roads are and in a gate which makes driving quite easy. They have traffic lights, quite a change from Dumaguete. But personally, I don't find the city too attractive. For me, it's too big, too modern city. I prefer the more provincial lives. And here we arrive in our hotel. Small hotel, cheap, but I had been there before. The rooms are nice and the staff is friendly. Next day, we drive around Iloilo and a little north to Silay. First, we visit the zoo. They have a very nice small zoo, showcasing mainly birds. My wife taking her obligatory selfie with the eagle. They also have deer. There's a small local deer endemic to the island. In- And the Philippine hornbill, that is also a typical bird. Their beak with this kind of hump on it is very typical red. You see them even in the back of the cage where it's dark. There are also all kinds of lizard. And of course, monkeys. Uh, Some snakes that we don't like to go too close. And then we go next door. There's the Negros showroom that showcases uh, handicrafts, local handicrafts, but also selling all this kind of pasalubong. When you travel in the Philippines, you obligatory have to bring back some souvenirs, mainly it's food. They have a collection of those masks. It's probably something typical. And then we continue to Siraj, where they have several of those old houses that belonged to the sugar barons, to the owners of the big sugar plantations. Unfortunately, only one of those museum houses is open, but it is quite impressive to visit. The way people lived in these Spanish-style houses with a lot of fresh air. There was no aircon in this time. And we visit El Ideal, a typical old bakery. The place is beautiful, but the prices are steep and the staff unfriendly. That's why we don't really stop there to eat something. We finally return to Iloilo, where we eat in this two-story central kitchen. It has a choice of Asian foods. We have a very nice meal, and the next morning we continue to the other side of the island, across the mountains, towards San Carlos on the east coast. Beautiful road. Here you see on the left the mountains we are going to cross. And on the right you see, covered by smoke or by ash, the Canlan volcano that has been active since December this year. They had to evacuate about 4 kilometers around the volcano, which is very difficult for the people who live there. They have now been in evacuation centers for several months. It's a beautiful mountain road. It's Sunday morning. Normally on Sunday, you have a lot of motorbikes who take this mountain road. But we are only and it's raining, therefore the traffic is still not so bad. Because some of those motorbikes drive quite dangerously around the curves. And surprise, on top of the mountain, there is a pine forest. In all my travels in the south of the Philippines, I had never seen a pine forest before. Big pine trees with long needles, quite surprising. When you come from Europe, it feels a little like home. And the road continues. Beautiful road continues through the pine forest. And you start to go downhill. The roads are wet, but the weather is not too bad. A few water drops on the camera. And we stop in this coffee shop that has a very nice view of the mountains on the other side. The weather is a little foggy. You can see it's fog, but still we have quite a nice view. There the sun is starting to rise over the mountains. We see some rice fields, terraced rice fields, that are more typical in the north, and a beautiful rainbow. I've rarely seen such a nice rainbow that you see from one side to the other, and not only a part of it. And we continue downhill towards San Carlos. Again, a beautiful road, a really fantastic trip on the motorbike. San Carlos, a nice city on the east side of the island. We tried to find money, to find an ATM to withdraw money, but we forgot it's Monday morning. And Monday morning, normally all the ATMs are empty because people withdraw money during the weekend and they will not be filled before 10 or 11 o'clock. So we continue hoping that the cash we have is still enough for the rest of the trip, which is not very long. We ride now south along the east coast and we turn into a small fisher village where some members of the family of my wife live. They are surprised by our visit and welcome us, especially that we also bring some gifts. No, this was not the right turn. We have to continue a little more on this quite difficult road, and here we arrive. For privacy reason, I'm not showing the visit with the family. And on we continue a little south towards the hotel. We found a nice room at a good price in a seaside resort. You see my wife following me, and here we enter this beautiful resort that is completely deserted. I think there are only two rooms. Frankly, I don't know how these people make any money. Maybe during the weekends they have families, or during the big school holidays, which will start soon. Next morning, the last part of our trip down south towards home. Here we are ready to leave in our motorcycle gear. And the last look at the swimming pool of this beautiful resort. We are approaching Bay City, which is one of the centers of the sugarcane transformation. There are lots of sugarcane factories, and here along the road you see the sugarcane trucks who have to wait until they can unload. Apparently it can take them up to 2 days that they have to wait. They sleep in hammocks under the trucks, never leave their trucks, until finally they can unload and return to pick up more of the sugarcane harvest. You can see this line of trucks is long of several kilometers. We take a break on a little roadside stop beside a big gas station. We eat some snacks. And about an hour later, we arrive in the last bit, the diversion road that leads to our house. We are quite happy to arrive after this beautiful but long trip. And the happiest are our dogs who really missed us and give us a warm welcome. Thank you for coming with us on this trip. Don't forget to subscribe and to like our video.